Good day, traders. My name is Coach Daniel from FX Insights, and welcome back to another segment on news trading. So for today, we have some high impact news that will affect the euro and the USD. So it will come out at 8:15 and 8:30. So for 8:15, that is the refinancing rate for the euro, and we have unemployment claims for the USD. So let's dive in and let's look at the historical data, and let's check how the market moves.
Alright, so we're going to be looking at some news trading opportunities for today. So we have high impact news that will affect the euro and the USD. So we have the main refinancing rate and the unemployment claims again for the USD. So let's jump into some historical data for the main refinancing rate. So this is for June 6, as you can see right here. The actual is actually lower. So there was an upward move of 44.9 pips. So this bar right here. For April 11, so when the news came out, there was a downward move of 29.3 pips. The previous and the actual is actually equal. And then we have March 7. So March 7, still the previous and the actual is equal. So it's still a downward move of 46.2 pips. But there was a reversal in just a few minutes. That's roughly like 30 minutes after the news came out. It did actually reverse. And then we have January 25. So the initial downward move is 18.2 pips starting from this bar right here. And then a further move down of 94.2 pips up to this point right here. So still the previous and the actual is still the same. So it's still at 4.5%. Lastly, we have December 14. So the initial move up is on this bar right here. So the initial move is 59.4 pips, and then it further moved up to this roughly this bar right here. That's a movement up of 105 pips. So still the actual in the previous is still 4.5. So what we could derive from this, so summarize the initial reactions of the market based on historical data. So what we can, at least for the analysis here, is that if the previous and the actual is still the same, it's usually bearish for the euro. So we could see that on April 11, March 7, Jan 25, and December 14. There was a slight deviation from it on the December 14 news, which actually increased by 59.4 and then further up by 105 pips. But the rest of them, it's still a bearish move for the euro. Now, if the actual is less than the previous, that's shown on last June 6. So yeah, we have the previous is 4.5. The actual that came out is 4.25%. So it's going to be usually a bull market for the euro if that's the case. So of course, an increase on the previous data, we don't have data on it. So you could check out 2023 if there is some movement, at least an increase from the previous, but based on the last 5 months, we don't have that. So right now, our at least for the forecast is for the previous to stay the same. So at least for the forecast here is gonna be bearish for the euro. So again, I would suggest waiting for the actual data to come out before you place your trades. Or if you want to be aggressive, you could just follow the forecast and you could capture more pips if ever the forecast is actually accurate. So you have to take note that the forecast is not always accurate, but at least for the main refinancing rate, it was pretty consistent with the forecast. So you could follow that if you want to. So just be wary of the risk. All right, so next up is the unemployment claims. So this is back in July 11. So there was a downward move of 319 pips when the news came out. So that's this bar right here. So take note, other high impact news did come out at the same time. So there was core CPI right there and unemployment claims as well at the same time. That was back in July 11. So that might be why this move was really big. And then we have July 3. So that move right there is 8.2, and it went further down by 105 pips up to this point right here. As you can see, that is an increase from the previous. June 27, there was a downward move on this bar. So that's a red bar, downward move of 18.4 up to that low point, and then it reversed by 26.9 pips. So this is a decrease on the previous. Next up is June 20. We have an upward move of 26.8 pips on the initial movement, and then a further upward movement of around 36.7 pips up to this point right here. So that is a decrease from the previous. Lastly, June 13, the movement down of 46.6 pips, so right here on this bar. So that is an increase from the previous. So the actual is actually higher. So what we can derive here, at least the analysis here, is if the actual is greater than the previous, it should be bearish for the USD, and if the actual is less than the previous, it should be bullish for the USD. So we can see that on some of these instances right here. So the previous here, at least for July 3, that is a 234k. The actual is 238k, so that is greater than the previous. So that was bearish for the USD. So what we're looking at here is the USD JPY, and then also on June 13, as you can see, 229k, it increased. On the actual, it increased to 242k, so that was bearish for the USD, as you can see right here. Now for the actual going lesser than the previous, that should be bullish for the USD, and you can see it on June 27 and June 20. So 239k became 233, and 243k became 238k. So there was a slight movement of 18.4, but then there was an upward move of 26.9 pips, which is still supporting this analysis right here. So for June 20, the initial move is still 26.8, and it actually increased even more by 36.7 pips, which is supporting the analysis right here. So as for the again the July 11 result, it is a big jump, movement down of 319 pips, even though the actual is lesser than the previous, which should have been bullish for the USD. The problem with it is that there was other high impact news, the core CPI, CPI, and CPI year on year, which pushed the USD to go down. So those are the considerations when you're looking at high impact news. You want to check other high impact news that could come out at the same time. So at least for the forecast for today for unemployment claims on the USD, the forecast is for the actual should be higher than the previous. So right here, so that is the forecast. So if ever that is the case, it should be bearish for the USD. I did check for today. We don't have any other news for the USD aside from some other speeches. So just looking at again on what's gonna happen for today. Again, this is at 8:15 for the euro, and then 8:30 p.m. for the USD. So this is PH time. So take note of that if you are going to be trading Euro USD. Be warned that it could be hectic for the Euro USD. So choose the asset that you're going to be trading with. All right, so that's pretty much it for our high impact news for today. Thank you very much for tuning in, and yeah, good luck on your trades.